Howdy, historians. Welcome to Africa Part 2. Africa Part 2. North Africa. I have such a beautiful voice. Sorry for all of you out there that think you're singers and then you just heard my voice and now you feel bad about yourself. Don't. Alright, I've had years to practice. Alright, so first, let's take a look at this mapola over here. Okay, now the region of North Africa are all the countries in the blue. Alright, so what are some of these countries that we're looking at here? We're looking at Morocco, we're looking at Western Sahara, Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, Sudan, which is now North and South Sudan. Alright, so these are the main countries that we're looking at there. I'm sure many of you know something about Egypt because you had a 6th grade teacher that went nuts with your Egypt unit and you made a styrofoam pyramid and learned about all the pharaohs and all that good stuff. All right, but those are some of the countries. That's the region that we're talking about. Now, when we look at the development of North Africa historically, a lot of it is going to be related to their Mediterranean ties, because think about all of the powerful kingdoms that we've looked at, all the powerful civilizations in the Mediterranean, whether it be the Greeks or the Romans or some civilizations we haven't looked at like the Ottoman Empire and some of the various Muslim empires that were built throughout time. All of them had ties in the Mediterranean to North Africa. North Africa is also home to some of the continent's most well-known ancient civilizations. We talked about Egypt. Nubia is another one that some of you may have heard of. We've talked about Carthage in previous units. Although there's a lot of desert, there's also a lot of good fertile soil and good trade routes that again connected them into the Mediterranean. Another Mediterranean tie that was important for North Africa was the Romans. One thing you'll remember is that the Romans were great at building infrastructure, right? The things that make a society run. They were great at building, dams, cities, harbors, but two things that were really important that helped North Africa were aqueducts, and the most important was roads. Roman roads tied into North Africa and tied them into the rest of the Mediterranean world, which allowed some of these early civilizations to thrive because they had these connections and these trade routes back to Rome and then later just back into the Mediterranean and southern Europe. Romans also helped North Africa develop their farmlands. They helped increase their trade as they were exporting and importing, engaging in cultural diffusion. The Romans also spread Christianity to North Africa for a period of time. So the Mediterranean ties to North Africa are very important. Trade, cultural diffusion, roads, the development of civilizations based on trade, culture diffusion, and then using those roads. So lots of important Mediterranean ties when it comes to North Africa. It's impacting their economy in a positive way. And as the Romans bring Christianity, it's impacting their religion in a positive way. And we'll see how their religion eventually is going to change after Christianity is one of the early frontrunners due to Roman influence. Now, a little bit more specific information about trade. Now, you see I've got the picture of the camel here. Why do I have the picture of the camel? Because the camel is incredibly important to trading in North Africa. What's going on with that line? Fix that little guy. There we go. Alright, so the camel is very, very important when it comes to trade in North Africa. They fueled trade. They called them ships of the desert because they could be very dependable means of transportation that can that can transport materials over a great distance. Camels can carry over 500 pounds and they can go 20 to 30 miles a day, oftentimes without water. So camels are a great resource to have when you're trying to trade in an area where it can be difficult to trade. A lot of North Africa is covered by the Sahara Desert. Other areas are still just going to be warm and water is going to be scarce. So camels carrying very heavy loads, very long distances throughout one day make the camel a very important factor fueling trade in North Africa. So the harnessing and domestication of camels was very, very important to trade. And resources were in demand. With these Mediterranean ties, camels could help deliver goods to other areas that wanted to get some of the resources that North Africa had, whether it was Egyptian cotton or Tunisian gold or any of the other things that are there. Beans and like cantaloupe were high in demand from this area as well for a long period of time. So there's lots of trade with the Mediterranean, with other areas in North Africa, and the camel is a very important part of that. Now, eventually, the predominant religion of North Africa will become Islam. Like I said, early on the Romans brought Christianity into the area, but eventually Arab armies started to conquer North Africa in the 600s after the fall of Rome. So, this was something we saw as a common pattern. Rome falls, and then someone needs to come in and, kind of like fulfill the power vacuum that has been left open. In North Africa, it was Arab armies from the Middle East, and they brought a new religion into this area, and that was the religion of Islam. So in the 600s, after the fall of Rome, Islam replaced Christianity as the dominant religion, and Arabic replaced Latin as the #1 language spoken in the area. And as these Arab traders came in speaking Arabic and practicing Islam, they increased trade and increased the development of civilization there. Eventually, they started to create some very complex civilizations that thrived on trading things like grain, wine, fruits, ivory, and gold. Those are some of the big items in North Africa. Again, they're harvesting and trading grains. They're harvesting grapes and turning them into wine. Thank you, Greeks and Romans. Various fruits like cantaloupe were a big one. Ivory and gold were also heavily traded. So we saw the development of some very wealthy and very complex societies in North Africa based on trade in the Mediterranean, the language of Arabic, and the religion of Islam. So lots of powerful developed civilizations with lots of Mediterranean ties thanks to those Roman roads and the ships of the desert, the camel. So that's it for North Africa. Nice short little video here for you today. All right, next time you're checking out some videos, we will start to talk about West Africa, and then we will also look at East Africa as well, and then eventually move our way into Central and South Africa, checking out these regions, their important characteristics, their trade, their religion, all that good stuff. All right, great job today. See you next time, ladies. Adios, North Africa.